Laplace is a burst 3 attacker class Nikke that falls under the weapon category of the rocket launchers. However, don't let that fool you. In reality, she wields a laser cannon that does mild AoE damage compared to the conventional rocket launchers, and she has an ammo capacity of 6 with a reload time of 2.33 seconds, which is by far the longest of them all compared to the other rocket launchers in the game. You can charge up her basic attacks just like any rocket launcher. The longer you hold them, you can go all the way up to 250% multiplier on her basic attacks. But when she activates her Burst 3 ultimate skill, you will then switch over to Laser. What's going on YouTube? My name is CymenSniped and welcome to the channel. Laplace was released today, and yes, I know that this video is a little bit late if you're expecting to look for a review video to actually decide whether you should skip or pull for this particular unit. But hear me out right here. Now, the reason for the delay is because all I had to work with to give you guys a more accurate review video was actually the CBT and, well, some other sources of information that are still very much subject to change. So I had to wait until she actually is in the live environment, which is she's currently here in the game right now, to actually give you a more accurate and more reliable information. Hopefully I get to share with you what I think about her and also how she fits into various teams or situations that can let her shine. I will also let you know my final verdict about her at the end of the video, so do remember to stay till the end. And look, to be honest, most of you are not going to be staying here until the end, so I'm just going to say it right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment in the section below regarding what you think about Laplace. Now, to really understand what Laplace is, other than the brief introduction that I've given you at the very beginning of the video, we want to take a look at her skills. Her skills are mainly focused on improving her own damage, which makes her one of the more selfish Nikkes in the roster that actually does not benefit any other Nikke in the team. However, what makes her unique is how she is built to be able to do more damage on boss monsters. So let's dive right in. Let's just have a look in detail what exactly her skills do for her. Laplace has no active skill to speak of other than her burst ultimate, which is called the Laplace Buster. To make up for that, she actually has 2 passive skills. Her passive skill, Hero Vision, basically can be stacked up to a total of 5 times. Now, every single stack will increase the AoE size of her basic attack by a small amount of percentage, and at max level, it will be a total of 3.7% per stack. At 5 stacks, it would sum up to an increase of 18.5% in blast effect of her basic attack. Every time a stack is added or refreshed, you have 5 seconds before it completely falls off. The good news is, having the AI control Laplace actually can guarantee that she builds all the way up to 5 stacks unless she is being crowd controlled. Her second passive skill is known as the Hero Bomber. Yeah, I see a trend here. Hero Bomber skill does 2 things. It applies an additional damage number after firing the last bullet in the chamber, and it passively increases the damage when hitting a boss part. Now, we are very particular about this. It actually only does extra damage to the boss's weakness or the additional parts that is not the central core of the boss monster. So basically, I've tested it in the Union Shooting Grounds and also some of the other boss stages and some in the campaign stages to actually check this out. And so far, I believe what I have stated to be true. Moving on to what makes Laplace, well, Laplace. It's her burst skill known as the Laplace Buster. Now, it's a little bit complicated, but I'll try my best to simplify it for you. Upon activation, she fires a laser beam that lasts for 5 seconds, and it does 3 things. Number 1, it applies the total damage across the 5 seconds in a damage on time manner. Number 2, it pierces through the targets within its trajectory. Number 3, it applies an additional true damage if, let's say, there are 5 stacks of Hero's Vision active. So in a nutshell, it's just laser doing laser things. And finally, it has a cooldown of 40 seconds, which is a pretty standard cooldown when given most of the Burst 3 Nikke ultimate skills. Now that we know what Laplace can actually do, here are some of my thoughts on what I think about that character. Contrary to popular belief, although I agree that she will probably not be able to hold a candle to Scarlet and Haren's total DPS output, but she is most definitely not as weak as what a lot of people choose to believe. Numbers and calculations are one thing aside. Based on the short amount of time I was using in testing, she is definitely a very solid Burst 3 solo carry DPS. If you build your team buffs and support around maximizing her damage output, she can definitely rival those of the DPS carries such as Privity, Sugar, Drake, Yulha, and so on. You can also arguably say that she's a more risky unit to use on full auto because it takes 5 seconds to fully apply the damage of a burst 3, but I say the same can be applied to any other burst 3 unit with a skill activation anyway, because on full auto it is always not an optimized opportunity. It doesn't wait for enemies to be on the screen before you activate, or it doesn't actually consider whether the enemies actually have enough HP to actually maximize your damage output. So I guess it applies both ways. If you do not already have Scarlet or Haran, or freaking both of them, I would definitely say you won't regret adding her to your roster. She is no way inferior in a practical sense to the other burst 3 units, so having another one basically means you can spice things up a bit when it comes to team building. Better than that boring ass god team that everybody's talking about. Which begs the final question. Should you pull for Laplace? I'll give it straight to you. Laplace is not a must-have unless you're simping. Considering how expensive it is to actually do a single pull using gems, I'd say you can try your luck, but you really shouldn't be going all the way to hard hitting. If you have Scarlet or Haran, like I mentioned before, she is a completely hard skip unless you are pulling for other special reasons. Only for those whose burst 3 solo carry DPS or burst 3 DPS in general are not making the cut, that I would say I would highly recommend you pulling for a Laplace. And if you'd like to know how do you even know if your burst 3 units are making the cut or not, I would say, you know what, stay tuned for the next video because I'm making an advanced team building guide. Hopefully it can be released in a couple of days, and if it can be able to be of any help, that would be amazing. So until the next video, I'll see you guys again soon. Bye bye.